Hassan. Thank you very much for allowing me to share a few words about the Ag Reserve, and thank you, Senator Berman, for all you're doing. As Julius Caesar once said, I came, I saw, and I concurred. I concur with what you're saying, except for one thing about the Ag Reserve. I just spoke at a meeting of the Democratic clubs up north. I was speaking, and they have a consolidation of the Western Democratic clubs. I had a petition to protect the Ag Reserve. They couldn't wait to sign it. Every single person in the room signed it. And I have it right here. If you'd like, you can sign it as well. It indicates 2 county commissioners who voted the right way, Woodward and Sachs, and 5, Weiss, Bernard, Marino, Barnett, and Baxter, who voted to sell out our farmland, our future, and our climate to developer interests. And there's a vote on October 24. And if they do so again, then you can kiss goodbye to the Ag Reserve, probably because there will be a domino effect. And they have no right to disregard the vote of the people in a referendum to spend $150 million to protect that land. They have no right to abuse their public trust and to vote for the developers and the farming interests who are very generous in their campaign contributions, I know, but they should not be doing this. This is an assault against our planet and against our children's future and against our ability to have fresh fruit and vegetables, protect the aquifer, to have a buffer for the Everglades, to protect against climate change, to protect against overcrowding and traffic. It's just flat out wrong. I'm urging everyone here, like they did up north, to sign this petition. I also take issue with anyone in public office who says, well, there's nothing I can do. That's not a state issue, it's not a federal issue. We had a rally right here. If all the officials, state, federal, local, showed up and brought all their people, and you had 500 people here, do you think the county commissioners would vote against them? Do you think the way to make change is not by waiting around for it to come to your particular jurisdiction, or to wait around for them to do the right thing from on top? That's not what happens. It's to have grassroots movements, to have a lot of people come out, so that people across the board come out, including all the political leaders, and demand change. That's how you had the civil rights movement. That's how you ended the war in Vietnam. That's how you had the women's rights movement. That's how you had freedom and for African Americans. That's how it works. When there's a rally here, everyone needs to support it. By the way, the treasurer gave the greatest treasurer's report I've ever heard. We've got lots of money, we could use some more. I've heard a lot of treasurer's reports, that was really good. We can easily protect the Ag Reserve. All you need to do, sign petitions and tell these 5 commissioners, we know who you are, and we're going to vote you out of office if you vote for what we call the swap. If you vote for the swap, we'll swap commissioners and your history. They've been able to get away with all this because nobody knows what's going on. You ask the average person who's voting to protect farmland and who's voting, they have no idea. This petition now names names. Sadly, Democrats are also on the take. And if we want to win the next election, if we want Democrats to win in 2024, then we better stand for something or we'll fall for anything. If the people of this county see that the Democrats are repudiating the developers' ability to pave over this land and we're standing up for the environment, then the young people will be mobilized. Right now they say things that are silly and ridiculous. It doesn't really matter what we do. Both parties are the same. That's absurd. Both parties aren't the same. But when Democrats take money and feed at the same trough as the Republicans and try to be Republican light, and we don't stand for principles, yes, they will not come out and we'll lose. And we can do all the voter registration, all the campaigning, all we want. But if you don't mobilize the young people and the enthusiasm of them, forget about it. Now, let me just say one other thing before I sit down. Abortion. I keep hearing this. Well, the case that was argued in front of the Florida Supreme Court doesn't look too good. It's a conservative court, and I hope that constitutional amendment works, because if it doesn't, then we lose abortion rights. Wrong. There's another abortion case right now in the court system. It's called Congregation Lador Bador versus the state of Florida, DeSantis. Anybody ever hear of it? I never. Well, you did when it was filed. When it was filed, it was all over. I was on CNN, I was on the BBC, Al Jazeera, everything. The pro-choice community has rejected and turned their back on that litigation, which is rather odd. ACLU and Planned Parenthood don't even mention religious freedom. That's the argument. You see, in a conservative court, Dobbs did away with right of privacy. That's a dead issue. It's not going to work in Florida. It's a conservative court. Not working. The conservatives love freedom of religion. If you're a Christian, you can lead a prayer on the 50-yard line. You can say, I want to bake a cake based on freedom of religion and RFRA. RFRA is First Amendment on steroids. We allege it. Our case is alive and well. Do you know that in our case, we sent out interrogatories to the state of Florida, and we said, is it true that the HB5, the 15-week ban, will violate the religious freedom of Jews? Guess what they said? It's irrelevant. Yeah, I have it in writing. Will it violate the right of Buddhists? Irrelevant. Will it violate the right of Muslims? Irrelevant. They're admitting in interrogatories it's irrelevant. I asked, how many women have died or have been injured because of HB5? You know what the response was? We don't know. And we don't care. We don't know. This litigation is going on. We have a hearing set pretty soon. If the Democratic Party used its resources in the pro-choice community and the liberal progressive community lent their resources to this case, I'm doing this on my own. I'm retired, basically, as a civil rights. I'm not retired, but semi-retired as a civil rights today. I'm doing a pretty good job. But if I had those resources, those attorneys, imagine what we could do. I think the case will win. But don't let anybody tell you, well, Planned Parenthood case doesn't look too good, so it's out. The constitutional amendment, I'll let you in on a little secret. I've done everything I can to get them signed. And I hope that we'll get enough. The language is problematic. Do not count on that to restore abortion rights. Because first the Supreme Court, the Florida Supreme Court, has to vote whether the language is clear. I'm not going to go into anything further than that because I don't want Florida Supreme Court to say, hey, look what Silver just said, but it's not as secure as you might think. And I speak to attorneys of all stripes. A lot of them have their doubts. So abortion also, the way to win this issue is grassroots support. We should be on the streets. We should also be on the streets about fascism that's taking over the United States and the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party is too silent on it. You have a maniac who's using the phrase America First. Do you know where that was used? It was used by Lindbergh. It was used right here in the United States by Nazis. It's a Nazi slogan, America First. Do you know the English translation of Deutschland über alles? Germany first. The English equivalent is America First. He's promoting fascism, threatening violence, vilifying his enemies, castigating the press, using racism, using anti-Semitism, abusing women. It's about time, my friends, that we speak out and warn the fact that if we lose this election, we could easily lose our democracy, and we could lose the freedoms that we have, and the United States could become fascist. You might say, you're crazy, you're an alarmist, but that's what they said in Nazi Germany before that happened. It is scary, and we need to do something. Yes?
I think this group, from my point of view, take a lead here, who know history. Our younger generation doesn't always access history the way that either have heard stories about parents or grandparents or whatever. being I was just saying that we know history in this room pretty much, or have heard history, but the next generation down, like my 26-year-old, she reads pretty well about history, but I think she's an odd person out in her peers, so I hear what you're saying, and I think it's the younger generation that will come and have this clarity of fascism, or democracy versus autocracy, and I think that's where we can put some more efforts. On that note, I don't know how much time we have left.
We have to run it. All right, I'm done. This group here should be among those who are warning about fascism, and we better speak up. Otherwise, our kids are not going to have a future, and the climate is going to destroy their future. We need to speak up, my friends. Thank you very much.